I want to do an extra video today, and I wanted to cover mostly about. I don't know if you could pick that background, but it's pretty noisy back here. But um, I'm covering superhero TV shows that right now had all the finales. The Flash just finished this week. I'm a little bit late, but bear with me. The only superhero show of note that I have not watched was iZombie, and the thing is, I know nothing about it. I'd rather wait until the series ends before I actually review it. I know it's based on a comic, but I have not read it, but I will get to it at a certain point. But I'm reviewing certain shows, and I'm going to start with one of the ones that I've had major headaches about, and I was hopeful for about it, and but let me get to it, and that is Gotham. Now, with Gotham, the entire series, even to the finale, has been a very huge letdown. Why? I'm going to give you reasons on. I'm going to give you the reasons and the improvements at the same time. So, starting with number one, the show has no idea what it's doing. It doesn't know what to focus on at all, so it focuses on too many characters on every single episode. One of the benefits of other shows, and I hate doing the comparison, is that you can afford to not show a character on a show or per episode just to develop that character further. Now, when a lot of your episode is kind of evenly divided to every single character, you cannot be completely emotionally invested in it, and you're trying to follow this police format like NYPD Blue, something like that, Villain of the Week, something like you will find in Law and Order Criminal Intent. Admirable as that may be, and you think it may work, actually falls flat here. And it's not because of the cast or anything like that. It does mainly pertain to my second point, which is the writing. Now, the writing here is very hokey. It's just not. It's not well. It's not good at all. The performances are pretty decent. It goes from poor to decent, and one of the very few times is very outstanding. Jada Pinkett did the best she could by channeling Eartha Kitt, but it didn't do very much. This show had its moments, especially with the Haley Circus and a possible Joker, as well as having Harry Bullock kind of carry the show most of the time. But a surprising character was actually Edward Nygma, who apparently at the tail end of the seasons when they invested more into that character. Another thing about the show that was a huge problem is that they couldn't. From the beginning, you are kind of confused on what time period does Gotham take place. Does this take place in the 80s, modern time, or anything? And one of the problems is that it's the actual environment of the show actually betrays on how the show is actually being portrayed. They spend so much time to show you so many antiquated things in Gotham, and yet people are using cell phones, and then at one point they're using a computer, and then it's never seen again. It throws you off a lot because you see modern technology and then previous technology being used on the show, and you're like, okay, if they're still using rotary phones and they're using cell phones and stuff like that, maybe the 90s, early 90s, something like that. It needs to designate what time period it's actually taking place in. If it's, again, taking place in the past, if it's a current time, please stick to the time period because most people get confused on how to place a show. If you haven't noticed it and you felt something was off, that is one of the major things that makes a show feel off. And yes, they do have a villain of the week, which kind of falls flat. A lot of times they're doing, killing off a villain too soon, especially if they're interesting, like the Electrocutioner. He was a pretty interesting villain. Yeah, they developed him over 2 or 3 episodes, but it just didn't do anything because the rest of the cast has nothing to contribute. Benjamin McKenzie is a pretty decent actor who came out of Southland, who did a cop type of TV show. However, here he's relegated into being a very cookie cutter, horse with blinders on type of character who is very one note, and I'd rather see glue dry than see how his character is. But maybe for the next season they can improve it on certain points, figuring out the time period, developing very few characters in order to make a stronger cast, and as well focus on Edward Nygma a little bit. He's gone a little bit crazy and has reached to a point where he at the forefront is the most interesting character there. They have to do something with Cobblepot instead of making him seem very dubious of being, oh, you're a mastermind and then you're a complete idiot. Pick a spot. He's one thing or the other, not both. That's all I'm saying. Second show I want to talk about is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was not a fan of at the beginning of the first season, obviously, because it had problems, but with the finale and everything, and how they are treating the Inhumans now, and the big reveal, and yes, this is a spoiler-filled post. Sky's mother is the biggest mastermind, most of everything that's been going wrong. It was a great way to show shocking things that had that had some foreshadowing, but not enough to make you predictable. And they did this with a couple arcs, and then you find out that everything works together and it meshes together. My biggest takeaway from the show is two things: Agent Grant Ward and Gemma Simmons. And Agent Grant Ward, or Grant Ward that he has right now, I will say this point blank. This is my prediction. What he did at the end of the show is that he's not going to be the head of Hydra. That's something wrong. The reason he's asking for certain names, especially looking at his deceased girlfriend's photo, is that he actually wants to find every remnant of Hydra and actually take it and destroy it. Why? Because it was responsible for it. So Grant Ward he's kind of the super anti-hero of the show. He wants to do good, but on his terms. His terms is to redeem as many things as possible, but under his terms and under his own eyes or views of justice. And I pretty much like that. Sky, part of the Inhumans, giving Cal a memorable send-off. The biggest thing is Gemma Simmons. Oh my God, this was abnormally satisfying when she got sucked into that object. Now, the object that they have in that boat, I believe is an infinity gem. People are kind of alluding that it's graviton. However, I will disagree with that because they made a big deal about that they found it 1,000 years ago, embedded on Earth, and having another infinity stone on Earth. Okay, fine, and the humans are aware of it, and it's a big danger to them. Whatever it may be, it'll be interesting to know what happens to Gemma Simmons, and especially if you didn't really see something coming with something happening to her, you have to pay attention to the season because she has been abnormally dark the entire season, and that's why people has not trusted her. She has gone super anti-powered people, wanting to kill Ward, doing everything that is not, very, very nice or against her. People are wondering why is that, and it's actually a kind of natural progression because of the way she thinks. I give it top marks on that show. I have nothing bad to say about it for right now. I'm just looking for how it's going to progress in the season. Now, the last show I really wanted, the last two shows I'm going to talk about, let me go to Powers before I go on to the next three shows, actually. It's three shows. Powers had a run on the PlayStation Network. I caught all of them streaming online, and it's a great show. It's wonderfully acted. People are trying to harp on to those cheesy special effects. It got renewed for a second season. It ended with a really bad note and a bad taste in my mouth for the fact that the way they kind of wrapped things up with the Wolf character, I do not believe that they should have had him do that climactic scene, give it to this new girl, and then Christian Walker, all of a sudden he's cured, he's no longer Powers dependent. It just felt very anticlimactic until you watch further, and they actually now degrade the show down back to the very first story arc of the Powers comics. If you have not read it, the first story arc of the Powers comics is who killed Retro Girl, and at the end of the comic, on the end of the show, Retro Girl gets killed. If you haven't checked it, I will recommend it immensely. It has a lot of moments that are just like you have to bear with it, but in general, it's a great show. It's a freshman show, but you have to check it out if you're a fan of Powers. If not, read something like The Boys, and you may be clued in a little bit how it is. It's a little bit unrestrained. There's a lot of cursing. It gets graphic at times, but it's all in good fun. The next show I'm going to talk about is The Flash. This is why this video is so late. I waited until watching The Flash, and I don't usually watch it on time because I'm usually working and I don't get to watch it. And I don't really own the TV, so I see everything streaming. The Flash. Wow, what a good first season. Um, the show overall is everything that most of us want to see in a superhero show. It has a light tone, and it can get dark when it needs to be. Right now in the finale, it goes about the Flash versus Harrison Wells, him making the impossible choice, and having a poignant heroic sacrifice. Now, and also, something great for fans is that they reveal that the fact that Siska Ramon, also known as Vibe in the comics, guess what? You're affected by the particle accelerator. You have powers, and you have no idea how to access them or what to do with them. We only have one glimpse that you can see every type of vibration or something like that, or frequencies. But we're going to see how that develops in the next season. I'm very interested about that. Eddie thought, I honestly thought that the way that was going to end was not him killing himself. It was going to be him sabotaging Barry Allen and making sure the timeline doesn't get disrupted. Barry saves his mom, and he blames Barry for not getting a virus anymore, and he becomes the new Reverse Flash by some accident instead of that wormhole at the end. But the wormhole at the end is to introduce Legends of Tomorrow, because you do see Hawkgirl in the end of the show, which is also in the Legends of Tomorrow trailer, so we might not know the ultimate fate of the Flash until that show actually starts. Now, speaking about... Oh, wait. Let me get this a little bit better. This is one interesting thought that I had about the Flash. They had an Easter egg where Harrison Wells was about to go to the future. Of course he doesn't. He gets erased from existence. Eddie kills himself to make sure he doesn't get born. Jay Garrick's helmet goes through the wormhole. They're discussing about alternate timelines and stuff like that, and maybe we could see Jay Garrick now. The reason I find this very interesting is because they start the show is called The Flash. There are different versions of The Flash. What if Season 2, Barry Allen disappears, but the show kind of starts anew with a different Flash, except it is not Barry Allen, it's actually Jay Garrick. Wouldn't that be kind of interesting? And the whole Season 2 is about trying to find Barry Allen after going to a wormhole. He magically gets himself out of existence, so Jay Garrick has to become the new Flash. I know I have no one to give me feedback on saying that, but I think that would be an amazing thing to do. Now, finally, the biggest show I want to talk about is Arrow. Arrow, from the time it started to now, I've enjoyed every single episode. It has not missed a beat. I love the damn show. The show ended with a lot of things happening in sequence, which I did not mind. Yes, Oliver kills Raish, and he seemingly becomes the new demon, the new League of Assassins, leader of the League of Assassins. However, you find out how everything wraps up is that he pretty much gives it all up. He leaves with Felicity and completes the deal with Malcolm. Malcolm becomes the new Raish, and this is not thinking about that. It is now, after him, and, he hands it off to his team to protect Starling City as he goes off with Felicity into the sunset. Now, this is a big, big deal for the fact that what's going to happen. The show is called Arrow, yet the Green Arrow himself is not going to be there, and I'm wondering how is that going to unfold, even though Stephen Amell has been shown in Heroes of Tomorrow with Barry Allen introducing the next thing. So whatever case may be, alternate timeline, one way or another, I want to see how this is all going to progress. The Flash is an amazing show. Flash is an amazing show. They did a crossover Arrow, and it's leading to Heroes of Tomorrow. But Arrow, my biggest concern is how the show is going to continue without having its major star there. What direction they're going to take it. Roy Harper's gone, so he's not going to be around for a while. Yeah, Thea taking on the red Arrow type of costume and stuff like that. But is she gonna be the new Arrow? I don't know how this is gonna work. You have a superhero team. However, I would not mind. They already renewed Arrow for another season, but even if they didn't, I wouldn't mind if the show just ended right there. It was a perfect note to end it off, and it felt like more of a series finale than anything else. Well, these are pretty much my opinions on all the superhero shows that I've been watching recently, and their finales pretty soon. In August, Doctor Who's going to come back. Once iZombie finishes, I'm going to marathon straight through it and give you my personal opinion about the show. It'll probably not be as long as this video, but I'll keep it nice, short, and simple towards you all. Um, if you'd like me to talk about anything that deals with comic books, movies, and stuff like that, I don't mind checking it out and giving you my honest opinion. But until then, in the next video, you keep on smiling and be a better person than you were yesterday.